The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Friday, October 7th, 2022, Season 18, Episode number 46. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and we're presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And today we get you guys ready. Cowboys versus Rams. That happens this Sunday. I think it's a 3:25 kickoff. But we're going to get you guys ready. We're going to talk about all the different storylines we think will be a part of this game. And by the end of the show, we'll get some predictions. We'll nail these guys down on what they think will happen ultimately on Sunday when the Cowboys head to Los Angeles. So let's start first. Let's get some updates on a couple injuries that could be relevant for this weekend. Yesterday, CeeDee Lamb pops up on the injury report. I know it certainly caught my attention. What are we hearing at this point about him and him being on the injury report?
It doesn't sound like it's too serious. I think that CD is still expected to play in this game. They have to do their due diligence and put that on there when things like that pop up. So he didn't sound concerned yesterday. McCarthy today in his press conference didn't seem like it. I just don't think it's going to be that big a deal. I think CD will play.
Yeah, I got the impression this team is really big, and CD talked about this as locker the GPS numbers.
Yeah.
And so he was ready to practice, and it's kind of like somebody forgot to remind Mike that his GPS numbers were high, and so they went and got him. He was getting ready to go, and then they moved him over with Britt Brown on the cords and stuff like that just to give him a little bit of a rest. But everything I'm hearing, it's not a serious injury at all.
Especially him standing in front of the media yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of weird. You know, he stands there and like nothing happened. Obviously, not that he's going to come out and say, hey, guys, I didn't practice today because of this injury. But at the same time, it's just kind of odd the way it went down. And then moments later, you find out through the report that he was out with a groin injury, but it doesn't sound very serious.
Yeah. Let's go on to Jordan Lewis, who had missed practice earlier in the week. Yesterday, only limited, so it sounds like maybe they got a little bit more out of him yesterday. Who knows? But what are you guys hearing about Jordan?
Trending the right way on that one, too. That one I know that wasn't as serious pregame. They just did it really precautionary. They were worried about him, that maybe that is something that could have got worse. And when I asked yesterday about it, it was like, no, he'll be ready. Because I was concerned when we were talking on 105.3, the Fan, kind of breaking down the Rams. I was worried of how they were going to maybe match Cooper Kupp when Cooper goes in the slot. Are you going to have to move Brown? Are you going to use Bland? But then I said, heck, just reach out, see what's happening there. It sounded like to me that he'll be good to go for you this week.
Jake Ferguson, what are we hearing about him?
Honestly, I think the same type of thing. I don't remember him saying anything specific about that. I missed some of the McCarthy. He might have said that early on, but I think he's a good.
Yeah, MRI was clean on that, and so with it being clean, he was trending the right way. He went from not practicing to limited, and they're expecting him to play this weekend.
Yeah, because then they have McEwen back on the practice squad. They could call him back up if they needed to. It's going to be interesting to see this week because they may not use both those call-ups. They don't. They will with the deep snapper,
right,
of course. But to do that, you have to have 8 linemen active. I'm not sure that they will. So there's a couple things involved there.
Something to keep an eye on too is that Overton was the primary snapper yesterday. Maher missed 3 field goals when he was the snapper. So let's see what happens with mechanics. As a former long snapper myself, it starts with the snap, the hold, the kick, all those things. So maybe it's just a little bit more about getting comfortable with Overton. He's a 10-year vet. He's been in a bunch of situations. Is the ball, are they having to spin the laces more? Most of these deep snappers are so good, they could get the rotation to where you just catch it and put it down and kick the ball. So is there a little bit of hesitation? I'm sure that's something that they're going to come out here and work on the field quite a bit before you guys get on that plane for Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's the part I'm most
worried
about.
there?
I am. That's the part I'm most worried about because the kicker has been really good so far, and I just don't like the fact, and I know they have to. It's not like they got a choice. But I don't love the idea of having to change the operation because any little thing for a kicker, that can get in his head, can get in his head, and then you got your kicker all off whack. And we've seen these kickers; they can go from great to nothing in a split second.
Yeah, they haven't had, and you haven't had a lot of deep snappers around here. I mean, really, you can go back, the last 30 years. There's probably only maybe a handful. Just because they did it for so long. LP
and two of them were forever. Hellestray and then LP,
Yeah, I probably went, it's probably longer than that. Yeah. If you're only going to say like 5 or 6, Jeff Robinson for a couple years, and then they did Kondo for 3 games, and then went LP and LP all the way till McQuaid. So just not a lot of turnover there.
Yep. All right, real quick, Donovan Wilson, what do we know about him?
I got the impression his was more just GPS numbers as well.
Yeah, he's beat up a little bit. They're trying to give him a little bit of a break.
Good.
Yeah. Well, and that's natural. I mean, the way he plays. He plays like he gets in a car wreck 40 times a game. I mean, that's just the way he plays. And I kudos to him for not getting himself fined a lot because that position, that's what happens. I remember Roy Williams saying I would play for free if I was playing today because I would be getting fined every time, because he's not going to change the way he plays, and that's what happens. But Donovan's found a good way to be aggressive, but not to the point where it's overly aggressive now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I got some questions for you guys. I got a few questions. We'll also get to some fan questions. We got quite a few from Twitter, and we'll take some phone calls if you guys want to call us. The number is 888-855-2297. Again, 888-855-2297. Let's start with this question. Which defensive player, other than Aaron Donald, are you most concerned about in this matchup? I'll give you a few options. Bobby Wagner, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd. You're free to throw in another name if there's someone else.
I think anytime you're dealing with arguably the best player at his position, Jalen Ramsey, because Ramsey has an ability to – he's probably better than your number one, I think. And so he's better than most number one receivers. So, I think that's a tough one when your Cowboys are trying to figure out if CD is the number one and all this stuff. If he takes out CD Lamb, that could be a problem. I think Ramsey's the issue there. But –
I would say for me is Bobby Wagner, especially after last game. You just see how angry and forget the play of that tackle, but just
Zeke's faster than that guy, I think. With the guy with the smoke.
Yeah. But the point is, you could see just how much frustration there was from their defensive side. So a guy like Bobby Wagner, the talent that he has, and when you speak about the running game and maybe the Cowboys having to find some balance there and kind of commit to the run for them. Not just to, I didn't get to answer this yesterday. I forgot what we were talking about specifically, but it was between the passing game and the running game and all that. And I thought it was about committing to the running game. I was thinking about this while you guys were speaking. I'm more so than just committing, because to me it's more of, if it doesn't work, then why keep pushing, or why keep what's the word I'm looking for? Force it. Why force it? But at the same time, you do have to give your defense a break, and the way to do that is through the running game. But anyway, your question was the player, and I'm concerned more about that aspect of thing, a linebacker kind of attacking the running game in that way and kind of putting a stop to those two guys, Zeke or Pollard. So a guy like him, he's someone to look for.
Like it.
Next question.
You agree?
She hit it.
Damn.
Yeah. She hit it
That's a first.
perfectly. And you know this stuff. He also can rush the passer. A couple of sacks there, too. You don't need him if you're going to be committed to the run or try to have balance. Nick's right, too, and I'm not just saying him, but because
that's how good they are.
Yeah,
they got
because what's going to happen is they're going to move Ramsey all over the field. And so you got to worry about him on both sides, and you got to worry about him in the slot. So he can take away whoever you want to. It's not going to just be about one guy. But Wagner, if you are committed or you're forced to try and help your defense by running the football, it's going to be on Bobby Wagner. Ernest Jones is another one that's a linebacker that makes plays for them as well. But Wagner's I think the linchpin for what they do on defense.
All right, let's flip it to the other side of the ball. The offensive player other than Cooper Kupp, who you're most concerned about. I'll give you a couple names. Tyler Higbee. I know, Brian, that's a favorite for you. Cam Akers, a running back. Allen Robinson, the wide receiver, has not gotten going yet, but could get going maybe. Which one are you most concerned about having a big game?
Nobody. I am not. Other than Cooper Kupp, no. I get it, and Brian, you've talked about the running backs, for example, how these guys are talented. They are, and the running game just hasn't kind of took off for them, taken off just yet. But literally, I don't feel any kind of, and I don't want to say this, but I don't feel any kind of concern or worry against our defense. I truly feel that our defense is going to be able to handle these guys completely and just keep doing what they've been doing week after week. So there's literally no guy that I'm concerned about right now.
Yeah, I mean the fact that Stafford is not that mobile, like running around, like that's the one thing that can really hurt this defense. And I think Jalen Hurts will be a huge issue against them because of how aggressive they are, and that quarterback can just take off. You don't see that out of Stafford. So I see your point. I look at a guy like, I don't even know if I can pronounce his name, but like, is it Skoranek?
Yeah.
He does a lot of little things, a fullback, tight end. Sometimes when you get all these other things figured out, it's guys like that extends a drive on 3rd and 8 because they're so versatile. He reminds me a little bit of a poor man's, Juracek or from the 49ers? Juszczyk. Guys like that kind of figures out a way to do some things. So I look at a guy like Skoranek that can kind of make some plays.
My fear is the quarterback. That's my fear. And maybe all of a sudden, because we've seen him when he was at Detroit, have days where he would light the Cowboys up, and his record against them is not great. But you look at the numbers that he's had. I can say he had a day where he was like 80% passing against the Cowboys and end up losing the game. It's funny, like I said, he's had games. I'll never forget that one we were in Detroit, and he threw for 488 yards. And it was like they got the holding penalty on Tyron Smith that they were trying to run the clock out, and that was the Megatron game, and you just have fear. Maybe that's not what that guy is.
The barbecue game.
It was a barbecue game. You're absolutely right.
Derek was going to pay. What were we going to do? Give us
Hard 8.
Yeah, well, I just said barbecue because I don't know I don't know what our sponsors are.
I'm sorry about that.
but I just said
that's
barbecue.
me. I don't know.
I don't know.
We're so trained
you
around
blame,
here, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're so trained.
But we were supposed to get barbecue. We were going to win the game, and it was like, and he was like, Brian, where are we going on Monday? And then all of a sudden they just give up 10 points in the last minute and a half.
I think that I think he's hurt, but I do worry about him all of a sudden. Oh, the running game, they find out that. Oh, wait, the screen game's working a little bit. Oh, wait a minute, Cooper Kupp, they're not really covering him all that well. I just worry about him making play after play and maybe not turning over the ball. That would be the thing I would be worried about in this game.
Yeah, I look at Cam Akers, and the reason why I put him on the list is because I think he's a talented running back. And I think that what I've seen so far this year, Cowboys defense, that to me has been one of their struggles. It just hasn't killed them. The issue in this game, though, is when you combine a short passing game, which they have with Cooper Kupp, with an effective running game, if they can do what all these other teams have been able to do against the Cowboys, now you do have a recipe for some disaster. Because if they can put together 3 of those kinds of drives where they can go 12 plays, take a ton of time, and actually end up in the end zone, that can become a problem. And we've seen this happen throughout these games, even when the Cowboys have won. When a team cannot kill themselves and they have a good, short, quick offensive game plan, like get the ball out quick, run the ball. That's a way to beat this defense. And that's the one thing that worries me the most about this game is if they run the ball, they have the passing game to back it up and to complement it in order to get them a win this weekend.
Well, they might. And even if the running game is a disaster, they'll still throw the ball in bunch formations to Kupp or Higbee or one of those guys, Robinson. They're going to find a way to manipulate offense. If you take something away, but I'm willing to live with it. If Cooper Kupp's going to catch 14 balls and they're only going to get 9 points, I'll take that right now.
Yeah.
If somebody would walk in the door and say, hey, Cooper Kupp's going to have 14, but you're only going to score 9 points, sign me up, because you win that game. That's how you win that game right there.
Yeah.
This game is going to come down to catch and tackle, catch, tackle. And whether it's screens or passes over the middle, whatever, Tyler Higbee, Cooper Kupp, Robinson, catch, tackle. Don't let them have those chunk plays on this offense, on these offensive drives.
But if the running game gives you those plays, combined with them having those short passes, that even if you catch and you tackle them, that's going to be a problem.
That's going to be a problem.
That's going to be a real
Just get them
problem.
in third and long. I mean, that's the same
That's
with
true.
Washington.
Yeah, you
get
gotta
them in
get
third
them
and
behind-
long.
behind
Behind the chains.
That's the key. But it's like you said, figuring out how to manipulate some offense. I mean, we've seen McVay really good with those reverses.
Eye candy stuff.
Yeah, he's really good at that, and stuff that I think the Cowboys should do a lot more with Turpin.
Yeah.
Give it to him once on a reverse, but fake it to him 3 times. Get linebackers' eyes always moving this way.
Well, to Nick's point, that's what the Commanders were able to do last week. When you start talking about fooling Van Der Esch and Barr and keeping them from getting over and making tackles. It's that movement, that those guys, like, they see it and they react, and all you need is that one step, and it gets them out the door the other way.
Yeah.
Maybe my memory is not working too well, but I feel like, and going back to Rams offense versus Cowboys defense. Every time we have this conversation week after week on here about like guys that we're looking out for and things like that, has any one of those names that we've mentioned every week actually been a problem for the Cowboys? Like, I just feel like they haven't been. Every time we get to the game, on paper and talent-wise, but then we get to the game, they play, and those players have not really been a problem for the Cowboys defense.
Oh, yeah. When you're talking about the defense, I'd say,
Cowboys defense versus opponents.
Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase. Barkley.
They haven't.
Barkley
had a pretty good
He did
game.
have a
And if you want to put the aggregate of those running backs for Washington, they gave the Cowboys some problems at times. The problem just became like at some point they had to abandon it in the fourth quarter.
Fournette.
But
Fournette was
a
good.
lot of that was, even though they were running the ball well, they just couldn't sustain the drive. That was their problem. It wasn't they couldn't run the ball. They just couldn't sustain drives because they had too many penalties.
And the defense still managed to be successful.
Right, that's my point.
Around.
It was just because of the penalties. So that's my point. If LA can be a more disciplined team and they run like these other teams have run, that could be a problem.
Yeah, Brian said it though earlier this week too. It's not just getting lucky that teams are not disciplined. It's they can't block you.
Yeah.
And they're holding you.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what happened on the flip side with all those PIs. I mean, they weren't just phantom calls. I mean, they were getting mugged when they ran routes and stuff like that.
Mugged.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our first break. We're going to come back. Let's get to some questions. You guys can call us 888-855-2297. I have a lot of questions from Twitter as well. We'll be right back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys? Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Being blind is not fun, so book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and find the perfect Essilor lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
It is not.
Who writes your copy?
That is not written.
Y'all would be surprised at the stuff that I actually read here because I'm looking at it, but it is nothing like that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want someday somebody to just say, whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands, that's our lenses. You'll see every exciting play. Book an appointment. I'm just, I mix it up every now and again.
Are you adding that?
This is what's written in the copy. Whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands, with Essilor lenses, you'll see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and find the perfect Essilor lens for you. See more, do more,
fine
Essilor.
read. It's a fine read.
Yeah, especially
It is a fine read. You've been doing it for like 3 years.
Right. So I like to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. That was good. I like
Change.
it. I like it.
If
Thank
I
you,
can
Essilor.
change, you can change. Everybody can change. I just quoted Rocky IV. I just quoted Rocky IV.
Rocky. All right. Let's get back into it. We got some questions coming in from fans on
You're an
Twitter.
alcoholic. Have a Miller Lite.
Stop. All right, let's keep moving. We got to press through these moments. All right, if you want to call us, you can call us 888-855-2297.
This segment is brought to you by Blockchain. And I don't know why Blockchain only likes this second segment. They don't
do.
give a
But
crap about the other first and third, but they want this one.
They like the second segment. They wanted the second segment.
Got it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right. Brandon Laurie, his question is, I really like what we're seeing from Mike McCarthy this season. Do you guys believe he's more dialed in now than in previous seasons? Or better yet, what do you think is the difference this year versus other years?
I will go on record to say I've called him lazy on the radio. I've called him non-committed.
The one thing we can never say about you, Brian, is you don't tell us what you really think about a coach.
And I, you know what?
He will let it fly.
Let it go.
No, and you know what? But you have to be fair. You have to be fair about it. And I've been 2 places he's been. I have people that know and people that work, and so you know what? I did. I'm very, very critical of the man. I think the Dak Prescott injury. I'll say this first off, and I said it this morning on my podcast, Love of the Star. I said this, that I think Mike McCarthy is learning what it takes to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think Mike McCarthy really understood all the things that you have to deal with when you're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. The ownership, the front office, the media, everything, the fan base. I don't think he really understood. I think he realizes it now. I think he's trying to be helpful as he can to the media. I think he's trying to be, he's working with his team, I think, in the right way. I think he's taking his coaches and working with them. I think he finally, as Kellen Moore was growing in the job, I think Mike McCarthy was growing in this job with the Cowboys. And I think there's a lot of positive things about him. It's good to see him take ownership of what's going on in that field. 4th down and 2. Go for it. Go for it. Kellen, have 2 plays ready. We're going for it again here. Get ready. Go. Be ready. That's the kind of thing I want my coach to be. I don't want my coach just to stand up there and, I want my coach involved. I want him making sure that the coordinator does his job. Dan Quinn does his job. Bones Fossil, we're not going to fake this punt. Just get ready to block this thing up, okay? We're going to punt this. We're going to play defense. We're going to get the ball back. That's the kind of thing I think we're getting from Mike McCarthy now. I did. Called him lazy, non-committed, all those things. He's doing a much better job for your football team right now.
Yeah. He when you just look at how this season has gone, and look at the first. Anytime you go 6-10 to start, and then 12-5 in a playoff spot, most teams are looking at an extension for their coach at that point, and he had to answer questions about getting fired.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying. Learning like reading the room and stuff like that. But I think it goes back to also training camp and the preseason as well. I think that, you got to give them credit for how they do things here. They got their backups ready to play, and they were able to have. I mean, you're like, well, Dak's not going to play, and these guys aren't going to play, and Donovan Wilson's going to have to play a lot because they aren't going to play Curtis and all that. And guess what? These guys were ready, and I think it's like 11 or 12 years in a row that they have not had a losing September. So whatever they're doing, their team is somewhat ready to play. Where they don't have a losing record in September. They have a winning record, if not 500. But it's working, and I thought it worked a lot this year because their backups that they needed to play were ready.
Well, we did a show the other day where we graded the backups.
Yeah.
A's and B's, A's and B's.
Yeah.
Give the coach an A for what he's done so far in the coaching staff because I said it the other day, 15, 16 tweets after that Tampa game. Brian, when's Derek going to fire up the draft show? No, can't do that yet. Can't do that. Coaches, he didn't. He didn't put his head in the sand and say, oh, poor me, I don't have Dak. They're going out there and continuing to win games. You have to give him credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, Nick, you mentioned the training camp, and I remember very vividly when, you get the whole media, everybody sitting there, and you got Stephen Jones, you got Jerry Jones there, Mike McCarthy, and people are asking him, asking Jerry about his job, like Mike McCarthy, like you doing that in such a public environment with cameras in front of you, your boss is next to you, you're asking about my job while I'm sitting here, like you feel that pressure. And after everything that he had to listen to throughout the offseason, you either like crumble or you figure out a way to start making changes and succeed. And I think that maybe his and we don't know much of this. It's just the very few things that we hear, but maybe his involvement with Kellen Moore and the play calling and helping him out. Those are the differences that we've seen. But he knows even last year how bad like his chair was on fire, and he knows that you got a guy sitting out there not coaching anybody right now that could be here. You got a guy that's actually here coaching your defense could take your job as well. So again, I think he's done a really good job handling the whole situation, and the way that, offense is not perfect and all that, and the things, it's not a perfect team right now, but he's making it work, and that's all he can do right now. But he's handled, I think, given all the scenarios, he's handled it very, very well.
Yeah, and the fact is, working here in Dallas, the pressure's only going to go up because, quite frankly, Nick, you mentioned they always start off September. They've been 10, 11 years. They're always winning September. That's not what fans, media, and maybe even Jerry care about at some point to some degree.
Right.
It's like, what's going to be happening in December? What's going to happen in January? Those are going to, because they had a great season last year. By all accounts, they had a great season last year. It didn't end well.
No, I know
that's
that.
why. I wasn't saying that you were making that point.
When we get training camp and we're talking about how they're doing things and how they do the preseason, that you can't blame it off that on what they're doing.
Right.
That's
And the point I was making is just more so about the fact that despite all of that, and I think we all have glowing reports of him right now, the pressure's only going to go up. Because when you get to November and December and January, the pressure's going to go up because expectations are going to go up.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, and hopefully things will be better than what we saw in Week 1 with Dak when he gets back. That they've kind of figured out. Maybe McCarthy had to step in after Week 1 and take more ownership of the offense. And maybe now it's like, okay, listen, this is what we've been successful at. We've been playing with backup guys at receiver, offensive line, all that. We're kind of ready now. Let's see if we can open some things up with Dak here. And you're right. The tail of the tape will be the second half, but I do believe you have to be fair. Me personally, I've been super, super critical of the man. And at least, he's done a lot better job this year through 4 weeks, 5 weeks with this football team than I've seen in the past.
Frankly, I love what they're doing. And I don't know how much it is a difference in what Mike was doing before or not. I mean, it might be the same thing he's been doing. The fact is the results say that they're doing the right things, because when you win with a backup quarterback at this pace, 3 games in a row, that matters in the NFL.
Yeah, and they've had some success with backup quarterbacks since he's been here. I mean, obviously when Dak went down, it didn't go well after that. But I mean, Ben DiNucci, they played with him. They had a chance to win up in Philly. I mean, Garrett Gilbert played, against the Steelers. Andy Dalton had some success, won some games. So I mean, They've done pretty good.
Is this
job.
number you could probably go back through your head and figure it out, but I heard a number the other day that said in the last 8 games without Dak, 7-1.
7-1
without Dak. 8. Yeah. Probably.
Which is, I mean, that's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
You look across the NFL, it is like a death knell. You lose your starting quarterback. To be 7-1 without your starter over the last 8 games, that's huge.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, they got on a hot streak there.
To Ambar's point, the guy sitting out there not coaching right now kind of has the same ability that Sean Payton. If you look at what he's did without Drew Brees, it was that you got to find a way to win with your backups, and they are finding ways to win these games. And I don't care. You play the schedule. We'll see with the Rams. I mean, the Rams are a little bit of a wounded team right now. Find a way to go get a victory there.
Do you think though that they could win games if their backup wasn't redheaded? Seriously, I mean, Brandon Whedon won some games. Jason Garrett won games. Andy Dalton won games, and Cooper Rush.
Yeah, they just like redheaded backups. I don't know.
Maybe. I'm just saying that's part of it, and that's the stat too. Let's go. Let's move on.
Didn't Wright win some games back in the day?
Anthony Wright.
Yeah.
Remember that? that night at Christmas. Remember that?
Clint Sterner. I think he kind of had a little bit of
reddish, a little reddish, something like that.
He's doing a good job on the radio, by the way.
Is he down in Houston?
Arkansas guy.
Yeah, he is
doing a good job
in Houston. He's
still fumbled against Tennessee in 98.
Never gonna forget that.
No, worst loss ever as an Arkansas fan ever. 1998 Tennessee. Sterner stumble. Came back the next year.
Is that what it's called?
It's called the Sterner stumble. Came back the next year and they beat Tennessee by the exact same score. Helped little. But, lost to Tennessee.
Have you ever told him this?
He knows. They
you don't have to remind him? He lives
tough.
with it every day?
Tennessee was number 1 in the country. Arkansas was number 10, undefeated, and went to Tennessee and had him beat. And he tripped over his lineman and put the ball down to brace himself and fumbled. We had a chance to run out the clock and beat them, and they win the national championship.
T. Martin.
Yeah, that does hurt.
Yeah, T. Martin.
That does hurt.
Yeah. First time I've ever seen
T. Martin?
First time I've ever seen a team lose and move up in the polls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was one of those like, they'll see. They haven't really played anyone. They're 10-0. They're 8-0.
Trying to get
whatever.
more money.
Yeah, I think Texas did that though. Alabama, right?
Yep.
They lost to Alabama and moved up in the polls.
They got into the polls.
We got into the polls.
Yeah,
We're
right.
not in the polls.
Right.
See, I'm invested now into Texas football.
Yeah,
Hey,
literally.
This is the weekend.
Yeah.
This is the weekend to be.
Yeah.
You going to the game?
No, but the sun is.
Hey,
we
man,
move on.
when your money goes there, you're in. Like,
Trust
you're
me,
in the
my
family.
money's going there a lot.
Right, you're in
way
the
too
family.
much. More there than LSU.
All right, let's go. Let's go to. Yeah, right. For in 1 year.
Yeah.
Let's go to. Actually, we're gonna go to our final break. When we come back, we got a phone call. We'll get that. We'll be right back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field. United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf. For winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This week! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
NFL Plus Get your live, local, primetime, regular season, postseason games on your phone or tablet, game replays, and more. Go to plus.nfl.com and start your free trial of NFL Plus today.
Welcome back.
If you have a phone, get that, right, Nick? You have to have a phone.
You have to have a phone. And if you don't, then get out of 1983 and get back into
I thought you were just going to add something to it.
You know, this one's written okay, and we don't have to read it 100 times in a row.
Gotcha.
But if we're here in November, I'm going to be like...
We will not be reading that by November.
No?
No. That's a product that you push hard at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
Get later in the season.
But get it for your all-22.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Seriously. If
everybody should have it by then.
You don't have to be a former scout to enjoy the all-22.
Yeah.
Seriously. You can learn a lot that way.
Maybe I should combine these. Like if you need your SLR lenses so you can watch the NFL Plus on your tablet or
There
TV.
you go.
Yeah. No. Why are you looking at me like that?
Like what?
You're going to stab me.
Do I ever look like I'm going to stab anybody? I got the nicest demeanor. I don't think that's...
No, you actually don't. You just have this stoic look. You could be telling you something. You don't.
You'll just stare.
You don't do that nod that you're supposed to be like, I got you. You just sit there and looking. Like,
Yep.
That's not true.
Yes.
Yep.
You're like you're. I'm trying to tell you something, and you're just like looking. I'm like, are you
He's
listening?
looking through you.
Yeah, he is
looking through you.
Don't have a conversation through text because that's
No.
a whole other thing.
All right, this is not...
And don't
talk
do
about
it at
lyrics, though.
11:57 because you're getting hangry and you're like, I gotta eat. Like,
Let's move on.
This is Cuban.
We got a phone call.
Derek
Josh.
is really a good boss, by the way.
He really is.
I enjoyed
Thank you,
working
Brian.
with Derek.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks for bringing me back, Derek. I appreciate you doing that. You didn't have to, but you did. Thank you.
Brian.
Think about that. If those are your worst things in the world, that's pretty good quality.
Tony Romo, get him, Tony.
I don't know.
That's the worst thing ever happened to
The
me.
worst thing ever happened to me is,
All right, Josh, San Antonio. Josh, what you got?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I was listening on season 16, episode 14. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, the guys over at on Talking Cowboys were talking about Donovan Wilson, and I know, Michael Parsons gets a lot of, talk about being elite. I just wanted to get you guys' take on how you feel Donovan Wilson is playing, this year, and I'll hang up and listen.
All right, thanks for the call.
Thanks. You got to know over there at Talking Cowboys that Patrick Walker loves Donovan Wilson, and they fight for whose guy he is because Rob loves him because he's a Texas A&M guy and stuff like that. So, the fan club for Donovan Wilson is going to start there.
And in there, yeah. I'm just.
I like him.
I like
him. Good player.
We talked about him yesterday. It was one of the people that you brought up, Brian, on your game, and I think we all kind of had the same thought of him. Really, really good player. You want him to just kind of be a little more disciplined.
Calm down without calming down.
Yeah.
If you can calm down and not calm down at the same time, you'd be great.
I'll tell you what, that's right. It's about calm down, but stay healthy. He's always kind of dealt with injuries along the way. You've never, every time you want to play him, something happens to him where he misses time. So stay healthy, calm down, and you got a really good football player.
Yeah, I remember when he started playing, and I have terrible memory, by the way. I'm not like Nick, but I can't remember which game it was, what day, who all were playing. But the point is, I remember when I first started watching him playing a football game on the field, he's playing, and he was doing things that the rest of the defense wasn't doing in the way that he was tackling and playing.
The physicality.
Being so physical with his plays. And I remember he stood out because of that. I'm like, man, I wish everybody could tackle like he does. I wish people could go after other guys like the way he does. And one thing that always concerned me was like, okay, how much longer can a guy go like that, like playing that physical without getting hurt? And every time he started getting like really, really good, then he would miss sometimes. And you're like, man, that sucks. So that's another thing that when he popped up on the injury, I don't think this is something major or anything, but to keep in mind for the rest of the season, that is something that I've always been concerned about with a guy like Donovan Wilson.
Yeah. I'll go to a question actually we got from AJ Oliveras. He says, I'm curious to see if Kearse takes away from Donovan's snaps or if they somehow incorporate both as Jaron Kearse comes back. What do you guys expect to happen there?
I asked Jaron Kearse that same question and went back to the Tampa game when they all kind of played. And I don't remember exactly when Kearse got hurt in the game and how much he missed, but it felt like they all played. And Kearse even said, he's going to use all of us out there a lot. And I think Brian's alluded to the fact that Kearse might actually take more snaps from Barr.
The thing with Barr, like I'm riding Ambar's roller coaster on Barr right now. Cincinnati good, Giants. I'm just kind of going back and forth. And, to me, it's like he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but you got better players. I think you got better guys that when you talk about you could play Kearse down as a linebacker, you could play Wilson as a safety. Now what you've got is if they try and get to the perimeter on the run, you got Kearse playing downhill. Now you got Wilson flying from depth, to make sure that if the ball does spill to the edge, he's not caught inside playing the linebacker spot. They've got enough guys to handle that. So to me, I'd use Wilson too because he's shown he can cover. Play him on a tight end. Play him as a robber in the middle of the field, taking those crossing routes. Play him on the back end and have him bracket if you want him, in and out a Cooper Kupp a little bit, if you want to give a little help to corners. So he's capable of doing that. I'm putting both those guys on the field over Barr right now. I just know they're sure tacklers, and I know they're both really physical players.
All right, let's go to the phone line. Let's get a call from Dennis in Albany. Dennis, what up?
What's up, Derek, Nick? Guys, I love you. If you think about it, I go back to seasons 2 and 3. I used to call you guys every day. So,
oh, wow.
Today, if you guys go listen. So I want to just give a quick 20 seconds. I want to give both of you your flowers. Derek, your eye for talent is ridiculous. We lose great people. You always replace them, and I know Nick has a lot to do that. Nick, your memory and about the Cowboys is incredible. Nick, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to close the loop with you on something, and then I'm going to make a prediction like you would.
All right.
He's about to hammer you. Get ready.
Yeah.
Amber, you're amazing. The BS you put up with on social media, ignore it. You're a rock star. Keep doing what you do. Brian, I listen to you every day, twice a day actually, because I listen to the G-Bag Nation.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for teaching people football like 101. Everyone doesn't get it and understand blitz and different things of that nature. So thank you for teaching football 101. All right, Nick, I love you. I love you and Derek. You were on with Sean and RJ. Those are my two favorites. No shot at you, Brian. But he asked you a question about Romo's flag football game. I told him to ask you that.
Okay.
That's how far I go back.
All right.
And lastly, here's a Nick prediction. Cowboys 27-13. I don't know how or why, but that's what it's going to be. Love you guys. Enjoy the show. Take care.
All right, brother. Thanks for the call. Thank you very much.
Man.
What was his name again?
Dennis. And I actually remember the name, Dennis in Albany. I remember that from back in the day.
Man,
awesome call.
Dennis can drive through a Chick-fil-A parking lot because you have to be able to maneuver left and right, then back, then forward. He went all over the place and still got to it. That's awesome. You should go to Whataburger anyways, if you know. Anyways, you know what? I don't know. Is there anything we need to address on that? But that reminded me of something. I listened to Brian yesterday on the radio. Uh-huh. You had Tank Lawrence on.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be careful with how I say this, but and I'm guilty of this too. We like to have fun on the show and all that, and they're asking Tank questions about Matt Farniok catching a pass or whatever like that, and on tape, running routes and all that. The other guys are asking, and I didn't know Brian was on there because the other three were asking all these questions. Brian's like, Tank, when you go inside from the end to the, to the, is it a different mindset and all that kind of stuff? And he basically was like, come again, elaborate. Didn't understand the question, and you asked it again, and I'm just thinking Brian's trying to football, like a real football question.
The questions that fans want to know, right?
Tank's asking all these other stuff like that. So that reminded me of that because I'm I know that you have to do that a lot.
Well, it's what's funny that these players you want to have fun with them, but he's also playing. I mean, the things you learn in these interviews is he's really serious though too.
He
doesn't have time for your Matt Farniok catching passes question. So I'm trying to ask him questions about him playing 3 technique with and how is it different rushing from inside as opposed and then. Once I was able to clear it up a little bit, he said, when you rush inside, it happens quicker.
Yeah, he actually gave a really good answer, I thought, once he got to that, yeah.
So, it's tough. Some of these questions, you can have fun with these guys.
Yeah.
We've had 2 guys 2 years, and the players have been great. We had Amari Cooper, who's a no-nonsense guy. Yeah. No-nonsense guy.
To your credit, you guys managed to get him out of his shell
His was good.
More than I've ever heard him get out of his shell.
It was tough. He and I got an argument about whether Alabama could beat the worst NFL team.
He thought they could.
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
You thought they could?
I did. I said,
Really?
Hey, oh yeah. I said, and he's like, no way. And so he and I went back and forth. And it was funny because, you try and look for things that guys have common. You want to ask them fun things about their lives and stuff. But then they're so trained to asking the serious questions. And so you kind of have to go with that,
I used to think that until there's one player I always think of about Alabama or Georgia or whatever, but it's Bo Scarborough. That's what I think of. Because Bo Scarborough at Alabama was a beast. Like, he was like, you couldn't tackle him.
Derrick Henry.
Right. But then you get, this Scarborough is a 7th-round pick, and he comes here and, doesn't do anything.
And you can tackle him.
Yeah. And so that's like, you think about guys like that, and then, like, they get 4 or 5 guys a year drafted, or 10, 11 guys a year. But the other 11 or 12 are working at.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Coop's playing for Alabama. Julio Jones is playing for Alabama. I mean, you're thinking about an Alabama team with their best players.
Right. But if you give me an Alabama All-Star team versus all the rest of the best players in the league, then I do.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant like Alabama right now playing the worst team in the league.
No, he played on some Alabama teams that were pretty good. But you look at
you just put the Alabama All-Star.
Yeah, that beats any team you could put together. I think probably. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to beat that. All right, let's get
Tua, their quarterback.
Yeah, I mean they got options.
Not
That's
today,
the crazy part. They got options.
But yeah, not today. But I mean, he would be.
Let's get some predictions. What do you think's gonna happen this week, Amber? Let's start us off. Make your pick.
I'm picking the Cowboys to win, but it's getting to that point where you're starting to feel like, okay, when is the streak gonna end? So it's kind of getting into that room where you're like, okay, we're getting there. It might happen this week, maybe next week. You don't know, but it's getting close to where it makes you now uncomfortable, the fact that you're winning consecutive wins back to back. But I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Cowboys to win. I trust the defense to keep doing their job. Score, I think it'll be a very close game. But you know what? Actually, it just popped into my head. Like, what happened if Brett Maher starts missing? Like, those points are so valuable right now. Unless the
deep snapper,
because the offense hasn't been scoring a ton of points. So Maher has been kind of carrying the offense a lot. So that's a concern there. But I'm gonna stick with the Cowboys. They win, low scoring game, maybe like 16-14, something like that. It'll be a close game, I think.
Okay.
I'm going with a desperate team theory. I think you're playing a very desperate team with the Rams. I think there's starting to be questions about, their quarterback. There's questions about their offensive line. Is there a Super Bowl hangover going on right now? Is their defense really that good? They blitz, they don't get pressure and all that. I think you're gonna get their absolute best shot. And you've been riding the wave right now with Cooper Rush. I think the Rams are the more desperate team. They win 26-23.
Yeah, I think, to think beating the defending champs on the road, winning 4 straight, like all of that sounds too daunting. But if you really break it down, they don't have to win 4 straight. You don't. You have to win 1, and you have to win in a game that's not going to be that much of a road. It'll be a fun atmosphere. And I just think that the Cowboys defense is going to be more of a mismatch than the Rams. And more I keep thinking about it. And the fact that Vegas has them at 5.5 or 5 or whatever, Vegas has absolutely whiffed on the Cowboys this year. They are so off. They don't know how to score this Cowboys team. Every game this year has been a 10-point swing. They've been wrong by 10 points for the Cowboys. Every game, or 10 or more. So I just feel like, I got the Cowboys winning by 6, 20-14.
Man, I've gone back and forth on this game since the week began. I know I've been back and forth at least 5 times on my pick of what I think is going to happen. And I can tell you it's mainly because of what I talked about earlier in the show. I think when you look at what the Cowboys don't do well defensively and how it matches up against this team, I think this is the kind of team that can give them problems. And that's different than the kind of problems they're going to face next week because they got a whole different set of problems next week. But this week, I think this is a team that can use a short, quick passing game to negate the Cowboys' pass rush. And if they do that and they can run the ball as the Cowboys have allowed other teams that have, in my opinion, equally bad running games, to get off, then I think that could be a problem. But right now,
I'm still stuck on the idea. I know Derek.
I'm way too optimistic, and then so at the end of the day, I still couldn't bring myself to say.
You almost sold it there.
Yeah, to bring myself to say that they're gonna not go and get a win, because I do think they are the better team. I just think this is gonna be a really tough matchup. So I would not be shocked even in the least. Even if they got routed, I wouldn't be shocked by it, because I think
that's fair.
I think that this is one of those games where you're right. It's the desperate team theory. Yeah. It's how they match up. There's a lot about this game that worries me, maybe even a little bit more than next week. I could see them losing this week and then going and routing Philly next week.
Sure.
Like, I just think this is a really weird matchup for them. So I'm still going to say Cowboys win, but it's going to be a close one. That's 23-20.
That's a Hellman pick if I've ever. He's like, I'm going to pick Dallas because I feel like I have to, but I don't want to.
Yeah, when he starts talking out of his mouth. Yeah. No, really. This is going to be a tough game, man. But the Cowboys get to win 23-20. All right. Appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back Monday. We'll tell you what went right and wrong. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.